Welcome, guys, to Love and Beloved platform. And you can listen this podcast episode on iTunes, Spotify, and in general on any platform that you prefer to listen to. But plus, after all this time, this episode will be on YouTube as well. And if you, like me, like to watch episodes instead of listen, this is great opportunity to meet amazing people face to face per se. So today we have an amazing guest and with inspiring story, Trent Brook. Trent will be published author, came to November, December this year, 2023. He has written anthology piece for Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivors collection, and that's how we met, being part of the Breaking Silence assignment. And he's also 3-time cancer survivor and overcoming. Actually, you don't use the word survivor, I noticed. So it's
That's
very
right.
important for me too, because words are very important, especially like when we're talking about something very specific like that. And I'm so grateful that you're here, Trent. Welcome to Love and Beloved podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. We met through the Breaking the Silence thing with Michelle, and I've heard your story as well, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
That's awesome. And for you guys who listening or watching this, my platform is actually, I talk a lot about human trafficking or domestic violence. But when I created this platform, it was designed to inspire, encourage, and to give hope. And I do believe, Trent, it's perfect person for this episode and for this platform, because I do believe you fit right in with your story. So without further ado, please share a little bit about yourself and where your journey begins.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm originally from North Louisiana, and so I consider myself a little bit redneck with a bit of Southern charm in there. Um, yeah, I graduated from Louisiana Tech University. A lot of my family went there, and so I have a lot of family tradition. I graduated with a master's degree and a IT information technology degree, so kind of in the computer area. I when I graduated, I traveled all around the country and installing large computer systems for large corporations around the country. And so I love to travel and I love doing that. And it was a tough job. It was a lot of stress, and I needed a break. So I decided I'd work on some of my own personal goals, which was I moved to Spain, and I taught English for a while, kind of as a tutor kind of situation, and I attempted to learn Spanish, and that was pretty much a disaster. And so you, with English being what your third language,
Yes.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe all the work and that you had to put in. It's quite a feat to do that. And then on my holidays on Christmas in the summertime when I had some breaks, I would go and travel Europe. And so by then the travel bug had gotten me, right? And so then I wanted to go see the rest of the world. So I got back into IT and I started traveling around doing IT stuff around the world. And I ended up settling in New Zealand. Beautiful country, awesome people. I got back into the IT game. And about 4 or 5 years in, I've always been into working out and fitness and things like that. And I had gotten into kind of doing some kickboxing and boxing stuff, just training. I would never compete. I do not want to hurt my face. Okay. Right.
Good
And
one.
so I met these American guys that had traveled down for some boxing matches. And so I kind of got to know them. They were there for a couple of months, kind of training and getting ready for their matches. And I got to know them pretty well. I thought it was cool that, they were boxers and I was training with them. And their manager was there as well. And I took some training with him. I got to know him. We kind of got to be friends. Well, one of the things that he does in addition to boxing training is he owns a side kettle corn business, like farmer market, outdoor festival kettle corn in his home state of Washington. And so, talking about that, he said, "Hey, look, do they have kettle corn in New Zealand?" And I looked around, I went to the markets, I went to the supermarkets, they didn't have it. Well, everybody knows what kettle corn is in America. They didn't know what it was in New Zealand, and I thought this is going to be a winner. It's going to work. And so we started a business on the weekends, and this thing is about 13 years into it. And we have about 15 staff, 2 factories, 4 popcorn lines. I'm the second biggest popcorn manufacturer in New Zealand. We're all over New Zealand, parts of Asia, the islands, parts
Wow.
of the Middle East, etc. And so, that's kind of my background and my history, in my career. Well, back in 2019, I'm in the factory. I start limping around. And I went to several doctors, and all of them kept telling me the same thing, that I had torn one of my butt muscles, but it wasn't getting better. It just kept getting worse. And it just, as time progressed, it was getting worse and worse. This is over 2 or 3 months. Had to go into the hospital and have some blood work done for something not related. And the hematologist just said, "Hey, can you get an X-ray today?" And I was just kind of like, "Well, no." And she said, "Hey, I think something serious is going on." I was like, "Okay, if you'd like me to, I'll do it." Well, right, I'm glad we got an X-ray, because I got the call that changed my life, as the cliche goes. And that was that I was diagnosed with aggressive, extensive hip bone cancer.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I had about a quarter inch of my hip, of my pelvis bone, holding my leg on. Every step that I took, I was in danger of breaking my leg. She told me on the phone right then, if I broke my leg, there would be no options but to cut the leg off, right?
Wow.
So straight into the hospital, right? Straight to the hospital, straight to the emergency room. Check me in, and it's public health care there. And so, if you've dealt with anything in the government, in any government, really, in any work, any country, it's slow and the service is average. And this is the same way. And so, it was a series of me going in and out of the hospital over 6 months. And about the third, see, what would happen is they would do the x-rays and they would try to make an implant. Well, it
Mm.
takes a couple months to make the implant. By the time they're ready to do the surgery,
Yeah,
the
you need a
cancer,
new one already.
that's
Mm.
exactly right. Yeah. And so the third time through, the doctor came in and he just said, "Look, it's too far. We got to cut the leg off." And I lost it, right? I mean, everything I'd been through already, I lost it. And so my parents were actually on the phone with me. I'd gotten to the point where, in New Zealand, they very much encourage you to have a support person with you,
Mm.
in situations like this when you go to appointments. Well, my support person was my parents on the phone, right? And so my dad just stepped in and he said, "Look, you can't do it. You've
Mm.
taken us down this road for 6 months. You don't know my son like I do. He's a fighter. He's not a quitter. You give him a chance, he will make this work. He's like no one you've ever met."
That's
And so,
amazing. Give me goosebumps. That's a good
yeah, yeah,
support
right.
person to have. That's amazing.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, some of those things I've never even heard my dad say before.
Oh, beautiful.
And and so the doctor went away. He said, and he came back and he said, "Look, we'll leave the leg, but I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee how it's going to work, how it's going to function, or anything. It's probably just going to be more like a stump, and it will definitely be shorter because
Mm.
we're going to have to remove so much of the bone and the tissue and everything that it's going to naturally just be shorter than the other." Okay.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, leave the leg, I'll make it work, right? So we had the surgery. My folks came down, we had the surgery, and the surgery went well. It was a success. They got the cancer, but the problem was that it was infected. And so over the next 4 months, I had surgeries to try to remove the infection and improve the situation, and it just never happened. I was
Mm.
on antibiotics. I mean, we did everything. But every day, I was getting better. I wasn't allowed out of bed for 60 days. I couldn't even roll myself over. I had to have the nurses come over to roll me over and help me back. You can imagine trying to sit on a bedpan after they've cut you open from your belly button to your spine and halfway down your leg. They basically cut the leg off and sewed it back on.
Mm.
Okay. And so the result of that was I like to use some props and some images to help people kind of understand, because talking about it is a little different than seeing it. So you can see in this picture that this is a normal hip area. Well, it's gone. And what they did is they put a little wire right here, and this is the leg bone to keep it from moving upward.
Hmm.
Pretty good idea, right? Okay. And so the thing was, they removed, just to give you an idea. So they removed like my gluteus maximus, my gluteus minimus, medius. All I had was just like a little bit of that. And the
Hmm.
doctor had a joke, and what he used to say is, well, basically, everything you do now, you'll pretty much half-ass everything.
Oh
And so,
no.
I mean, that's kind of, to put a little bit of a light spin on the
Yes.
situation. But hey, you know what? The thing is, he did a good job, and we still
Mm-hmm.
had the leg. So I got out of the hospital, and I'm back to work. I never quit working, actually. If you own your own business, you do your own thing. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I'm the owner. I make a lot of decisions. I'm very involved. It's my business. I couldn't do anything about it. So I actually work from my hospital bed. You do what you got to do, right? And
Wow.
so, yeah, right. So we got out. I thought everything was going to be good. We're back at work, trying to get back in the routine. I'm so thankful to be back at work. Well, my next scan comes up, and it shows that I have a tumor in my pancreas and my lung. Okay.
Oh my goodness, from one to another, and it's not even related. How that shock? Like I want to ask before we move on, because I want to ask the same question when you received that first diagnosis on the phone. Like how did it feel? Like what did you feel in that moment, thinking like I'm the owner of the company, people depend on me, this is my life, this is cannot be happening to me? Like what was that first first reaction, and what steps did you take? Did you right away call your parents? Like what, like support group, or what did you do in that moment, just in case somebody listening and they just got that phone call? Because it's pretty, it's terrible that it's pretty common phone call that you have a cancer
Uh,
in these days. So I want you
yeah,
to speak into that moment when it's like fear and panic and disbelief, and why me, why this is happening, why right now, like what was that like?
sure. I mean, I was in shock, right? I was in shock. And then and then, on the phone, and, it happened to be one of my managers was in the car with me, and we were going to lunch when I
Wow.
got the phone call. And I just answered the phone because I knew it was the hospital, but I didn't know it was her. So it was totally unexpected. I didn't think there was anything wrong, because I'd already had three doctors tell me
Mhm.
you've torn your butt muscle, and I just had the X-ray to just do it because she asked me to, and I just thought, well, whatever. And so it was shock. And I'll tell you what, this was something that I wrestled with for a long time afterwards. Immediately, my mind went to the worst case scenario, which was, I'm going to die from this. And the reason that I thought I was is because about 6 months before that, my brother's best friend, one of my good friends, one of my fraternity brothers in college, my aunt and uncle's godson, okay, a close friend, a very close friend. He had had about a 2-year battle with cancer, and he died. He died from it, and he left his wife and his two kids at the age of 38. And I immediately thought, I'm going to die just like him, right? And so I was upset. I'm crying. I mean, I think that's naturally what happens, right? You're in shock. You're upset. You don't know what to do. I've never been sick before. They're like, you need to get to the hospital immediately, right now. Do not, every step you take, you could break your leg. When you get to the door of the emergency room, sit down in a wheelchair.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just blown away, right? So I call my parents, right? My mom's not around, but my dad's home. And, my dad just told me, he said, look, whatever it is, we're going to beat this. We're going to win. And you have to remember, Trent, you are not Chris. That was Chris and Chris's life.
Mm.
You are not
That's a
Chris.
good reminder not to compare ourselves, because we have lots of really stories that didn't end it well, but we have lots of overcomer stories like yours. So that's a good advice to concentrate on the positive, because still you didn't know what's ahead. So thinking about the end in a negative way would not help, not your psyche, not your emotion, and the panic and fear escalates when we spiraling down and we cannot think straight. So what advice would you give to a person who just got that phone call, and to the person who is family member or friend got that phone call or that
What I would
news?
probably say is sit down, take some deep breaths, and try to calm yourself down, right? Because this is what happens, I think, with a lot of people, right? And especially in the world today, with it being so negative and it's just all about, it's just the news is negative. There's so many terrible things that happen. It's just, I think people kind of have been programmed now to go that way.
Mm.
And I would sit down, I would take some deep breaths, I would just try to absorb the information. And I think the best thing to do is you need to call somebody, you need to talk to somebody as quickly as you can that is your support group. And your parents, for me, I'm close to my parents still. I have some really good friends as well. I mean, we all do. We all have a few of those people. You need to call them and you need to get involved, because a lot of people are tough and there's a lot of independent people out there. And you're the one that's going to have to make the ultimate decisions in that situation. But you can't do this by yourself. You need support. You need a lot of things, right? I go to counseling now still.
Well,
That's
it's a
something.
trauma. One way or
Oh,
another, it's a trauma.
oh yeah, absolutely it is. And there's so many things that I think that are tools that are out there now that help people. And
Like what kind of tools can you name few? So you said
yeah, yeah. I
parents
mean,
like support one,
yeah, yeah,
counseling. What else they can do?
yeah.
We can do.
Absolutely. For me, I'm involved in the local cancer group
Mm.
community. I'm involved. I'm involved as a person that gets to utilize the resources. For example, I go to yoga with people that have had cancer, recovering from cancer. So I have yoga to go to. I have the counseling, and I go to a counselor that specifically specializes with cancer and people, that have had cancer and related to that. Um, and I think meditate. So I think you need to be involved in a group of whatever similar that is, to let you know that there's people out there that are in the same situation as you, and you should realize, this is bad,
But you're
but
not alone. I
that's
think
right.
this biggest lie sometimes we give into, especially when something bad happening, that you're alone. This is me, why me? And that can really trigger so many bad
Oh,
feelings, like, and resentment and sadness and hate and upset with I don't know what, maybe with God, with people, with the world, with I don't know, your companies, families. But when you realize this is just happening, it's not because of you, like, or something, it just happened. And I think what you said first, just breathe and try to absorb the information, but kind of being like bystander to
yeah,
to actually, it's very hard to rationalize in that moment,
sure.
but as long as like staying calm and then connect with people who love you and support you. And honestly, guys, if you believe you're alone and you don't have an army to support you, or wonderful father like Trent does, you still have one person who can speak life into you. So think about it and choose that person. Or, like, there's still around you people who loves you. You just need to reach out and share and be open with them, and you will see how much they actually care and love for you. I do believe, because I came from very from discord and broken family, and I still had one person who backed me up and walked with me through life. So is you're gonna be okay. You just need to reach out and be honest and open. And this is amazing advice to be with other people too, because what is community does, especially when we struggle with this similar pain, I relate to that. For example, if I am survivor of human trafficking and drug abuse, if I go to, I don't know, some club or some organization who talking about, some wonderful dance competitions, and I'm like, it does not relate to me anyhow. And they say, yeah, I understand you. I'm like, yeah, by taking Tylenol, it's not the drug abuse. So you know what I mean? But then I go to Alcoholic and Drug Addict Anonymous and we're talking. I know these people know what I'm talking about. So that's why I go to the cancer survivor, somebody who already went through, and especially like, oh, I'm having goosebumps again from someone who already overcome this adversity and this pain and feeling. So they already can help you. Like like right now, you're giving us advice. What can you do? Because you felt it, it happens, you went through, and then there's people who gonna be right getting in the middle of it, in the beginning of it. Maybe somebody lost someone, but maybe somebody survive and overcome and have those stories of their relatives. And people are amazing when
Yeah.
they, like with they, I'm saying they, I'm us, we should talk about us. Both of us are overcomers, so for us to share our stories. That's the point. That's why we are here. That's why we're writing that book. And that's why we doing these interviews, because we want all of you to know, no matter what you went through, no matter where you are, it is possible. But like human beings are so resilient and we can overcome. You know what? Sometimes we don't have this wonderful ending of the stories, but we can do the best we can with what we have, and it can be better if you know that you're not alone. Lots of people go through the same thing, and you can be part of the community when the people gonna love you and support you. And honestly, creating the awareness, I think it's very important. So I'm thankful to you, Trent, for you sharing this today and openly talking about the feelings, about your emotion, and the fact that you're gentleman, and you said I totally broke down and I cried, because that's what we do. Our emotional, like we are falling apart. Our emotional state cannot handle this kind of news and be okay. So the trauma already gonna be happening. But then on top of the trauma, you just overcome this the leg and hip, this like problems, and that, okay, now I'm good, now I come back to work. This is another like bizarre thing about you. I think you are amazing working through this kind of situation and still be accountable and support the people who are relying on you and your business. It's just very inspiring and
Yeah,
admirable. So
admirable. Yeah, yeah.
I'm really really impressed, but not like in this like, oh, like I'm really like humanly impressed that you're able to do this two big like overcome this big situation and
Well,
overcoming your pains and struggles with your work. But now you get in second phone call that not relating to your leg and hip and like at all. And what happened then?
well, that one, I had a different. My reaction was much different. I was
Oh,
frustrated and
oh,
angry.
so now you were angry.
Yeah,
Why?
because why is this happening to me? I thought this was over,
Mm,
right? And the way that they told me, it was just, well, I don't know how you tell somebody, right?
yes.
But I had gone in to the hospital for some stuff, for some issues with the leg and the infection. And they were running some tests, and we had to put a tube in for a drain and all this kind of stuff. And on the way out, when
Oh
I
my
was leaving,
gosh.
it was like, hey, by the way, I need to tell you. And it was a junior doctor. I didn't even know. I had no relationship with. And the deal is, okay, okay, telling you have cancer, but telling you have pancreas cancer, that's a different level, man. That's telling
Oh,
you that you're going to die.
oh
Okay.
my
Because
gosh.
pancreatic cancer is less than 5% make it with treatment.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
So basically, he told me, by the way, on the way out the door, you're going to die.
Oh my gosh. It's like probably hit you like a truck. What?
I was actually already frustrated and angry, frustrated from the day and how everything had gone with everything, with trying to put the drain in and all the stuff, and it was a mess already. And then at the end of the day, he told me, and I was already kind of
Oh my
frustrated with
gosh.
everything, and I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever, and I just left, right? And but that's rough, man. Not one but two cancers, right? In two different places, and they give you the death sentence, right?
Oh my
Because that's what
goodness.
pancreas cancer is, a death sentence. Okay. So, all right, well, what are we going to do? I mean, I'm thankful that we've caught it early enough. What are we going to do about it, right?
Hmm.
So, the pancreas is definitely the worst of the two. So we're going to tackle that first. And so I see the surgeon, and he said, hey, look, the good news is that the tumor is at the bottom of your pancreas and not the top. At the top end is where all the tubes and everything are connected.
Hmm.
Okay, at the bottom, it's
You
not.
mean to other organs?
It connects to it's kind of attached to your spleen,
Okay.
but it's better to have it at the bottom than the top, because at the top that's a mess, because then
Okay.
you tubes and everything they
Hmm.
go to the other parts of your body.
Hmm.
So we decided, okay, surgery is the best thing to do. Okay, well, and this is about the time COVID hits, right in between the going to the doctor and then getting the surgery. COVID hits, and in New Zealand we are locked down like caged animals.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
it is horrific. I mean, it is so isolating. I cannot tell you, the mental health issues that they're still dealing with.
Oh,
I mean, it was
absolutely.
all they already had issues down there with
Hmm.
mental health, right? It just
Yeah, it's
blew up.
hit us hard, honestly. And knowing that you have to be in and out of hospital, how that work out.
Well, no visitors. So it's and so the pancreas surgery was fine. Out of all the surgeries I've had, it was actually the best one.
You
But
have
it's
to do
really,
the best one, like in the quotation, because that relating to the
yeah.
surgery. But yeah, so you were alone completely and going the surgery and being how long you have to stay in the hospital after?
Well, for the pancreas thing, it was only about
Okay.
4 days.
Okay.
So, that was good. The issues were that I had a drain that was coming at me with the bag that kind of like people
Mm.
would think of like a colostomy bag, more or
Mm.
less. I mean, so I have fluid that's coming out, because they your pancreas is kind of like that. They cut the thing in half.
Mm.
So, obviously it's wounded, and it's going to take some time to heal. So, okay. So that drug on for several months. It was supposed to be a couple weeks. It was 2.5 months that I had this bag and everything, and it didn't fit right, and it would get loose, and then it would fall off, and it wasn't attached to my skin properly, and it was just a mess, right? And you get all over it, get the fluid would get all over me and all over my clothes.
Oh my
It's a mess.
goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that has to change this thing out. Okay.
That is terrible. They didn't have like the nurse because of the COVID, nobody
Well,
was
that was
able
part
to
of it.
come.
And then, I was out of the hospital, and they're like,
Mm.
well, come in once every, we'll come in once a month, and we'll
Oh
evaluate if we
yeah.
can take it out or not.
So you have to learn how to be nurse to yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to have to change my wound, my incisions. You know, I
Oh my
couldn't do the
goodness.
back thing. Obviously, I couldn't do my back one because I had the lung
Oh.
surgery back here. They went in back here. But you know, like with the hip and everything, I had to change my bandages. I mean, thank God I could. You know,
Yes.
thank God it's in an area where it was right here by my
Mm-hmm.
hip, and I actually could manage it and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, this is the bittersweet bit about the pancreas surgery. Okay. So when they told me the results, they did a big spin on me. They congratulated me that I didn't have cancer. And I'm like, okay. But so well, that's good. I'm relieved that it wasn't cancer because I'm well
Mm-hmm.
over I'm better than this 5% thing, right?
Okay.
But they had to take out my spleen. That sometimes the spleen is so closely attached that they had to take that out. And it ended up after some discussion with them that it was a misdiagnosis for a blood clot. So
No.
I had a blood clot on my pancreas. So they cut my pancreas in half and removed my spleen for a blood clot. And I asked them, how could you not
Oh,
decipher that that was
that's
not a tumor?
crazy. Oh my
I mean, we've all
gosh.
seen enough
Yeah.
surgeries on TV to tell what a blood clot looks like and
Oh
what
my
something
gosh.
else looks like, right?
That's misdiagnosed and a half.
I mean, here's the
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
Here's the
So
thing.
like
No consequences. Okay. It's public health care. They were actually arrogant in the
terrible.
in your delivery to me
Mm.
about like kind of in this way of like we're
This
untouchable, whatever. It
oh
was
my
an
god.
accident. We don't care. You don't have cancer. Congratulations. Get out is how I felt, right? Okay.
I'm so sorry that it happened to you, but I bet like lots of us have those kind of stories
Oh
with
yeah.
misdiagnosing, with wrong medications and all that stuff. I have my own stories. I don't know, I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
get into it too, but I actually experienced the same thing that the doctor who prescribed me meds that almost kill me
Uh,
was actually his license was revoked because of somebody else because I
oh,
didn't even complain. But I thought to myself, if they took his license, that means how many people like actually got harmed to
yeah.
get to the point. But the
Yeah.
craziest part that my husband said that his license gonna be like be back in a year or so. So it
Uh,
was really no consequences. And
that's
that's
what.
what he say. It's like practicing um practicing the healthcare or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know
Practicing
what?
medicine. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what, guys? It's not big like because we're trying to like I don't know prove on all the doctors and all this stuff. This is facts and this is happening,
Yeah.
you know, because there are lots of good doctors who make it amazing decisions, like who knows how to have like those bedside manners, you know. We just sharing our stories and our experience. So don't be angry and yeah, we have like all the different stuff that happened to us and good and bad because like Trent was talking about the doctor with the leg and he said he was fantastic and did amazing job. So that just personalized experience with different stuff. But it happening. How terrible is that to actually lose the organs that could work in other, I don't know, till the rest of your life and could be treated differently. That's what the anger and frustration about
Absolutely.
and no consequences because we need
Yeah.
justice and resolution and that's like terrible part that you cannot do anything about it. But
Mhm.
then like next part, what about the lung?
Okay. So, right. So then we had the lung surgery, and the surgery went fine. The next day, when they were inspecting the incision, that was infected.
Oh my
So
god.
now I have an infected lung and the hip is still infected. This is about a year later. Okay. And I had decided with the hip, I'm like, these guys, no more chances. I'm done with them.
Mm.
No more surgeries. No more anything. I know that probably one day I'm going to have to go back to the States. And when
Mhm.
I do, I'll deal with the leg then. I'm done with these guys. They've had enough chances. Well, the orthopedic knew that I was in the hospital with the lung thing. No visitors, no support. This is during COVID. No one's around. I'm all alone. I'm still on narcotics. And about a day or two later, well, a week, I don't know, a few days later, the orthopedic comes in and he says, look, that wire, that wire that you have, that's causing the infection. We're taking it out
Oh my goodness. After all these months, they like
after a
figure
year,
out a year after a year, they're like, oh, that's
almost a
what
year.
it is.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I was dragging this infected leg around, shorter than the other. And let me give you an idea how much shorter. So this was the shoe that I was wearing. So you get an idea kind of, like that is about, close to an inch or so. Okay. Is where I was at. And
wow.
so I
Not
agreed to
only
do the
like
surgery.
infected leg, it's probably your emotions was down, like, and dealing with this
Oh,
stuff. Like, it's so much overwhelm and the stress and the pain and the fear. And then it's already escalating to anger and resentment and doctor like sucks and all this stuff. Man, that was like probably like really rock bottom for you in the way you felt, and especially COVID being alone.
oh yeah.
Man, that's terrible. I'm so
Well,
sorry that it happened to you.
it gets better in a much worse way.
Oh, okay. I want to hear that. So,
So I had the surgery, and the head orthopedic that I had the impression was doing the surgery didn't do the surgery. A junior surgeon did the surgery.
oh my
I
goodness.
didn't realize this. Okay. And so the result of the surgery was that he damaged my nerves in my bladder. So I have that thing where I had this for a long several years where I have to frequently go to the bathroom. I think I need to go to the bathroom. Think about, trying to get up in the middle of the night on crutches, with this leg trying to get to the bathroom before you pee on yourself. So there's that.
That's
And
terrible.
then what happened was this is after this has sealed up. This is, this, yeah. I has This is what is called, now this is after this healed up, which is basically a miracle that my incision healed up because it was all over again. This is what they call a surgical hernia. That is actually a bit of my intestines
That
that,
is terrible.
yeah, that's my small intestines. And so that was a result of the surgery.
Mm.
Here's the thing. It didn't get the infection. Okay. That wasn't the infection. And so over time, what the result was, let me put both of these up. Boy, I'm upside down today.
Okay.
So you can see, right? This one. Now look here. Now, can you tell that the hip bone, the leg bone was here, and
Uh-huh.
now it's up here
Okay.
because there's nothing to hold it down. Okay.
Mm.
So that's what happened over time, which resulted in my shoe going from this to this
Wow.
over 4 inches.
I
Okay.
honestly like, I'm so surprised that you're still alive. It sounds
I'm
like
not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be alive.
experimenting on you and practicing on you,
Oh
and you
yeah,
still living. And you
absolutely.
still talking, and you still a cool guy to hanging out for an hour on a podcast. And the way you speaking about this, although like I know there's like and have the emotions behind, you still, I don't feel any hate from you. I don't feel like any like really like you just took what the cards that dealt for you and just move forward. Actually,
Yeah.
we were talking about this little bit in the beginning that you sent me a picture of you, and it says faith over fear. And I thought, wow, that's really cool because honestly, just believe that you're gonna overcome just like your father told you that you will and back you up, and you still every time that I'm talking to you, you speak with kindness to people. So it didn't broke you and your spirit as a human being, as that identity that you had before all this mess start happening, it's still there. You still kind, you still laughing, you still want to support people who actually went through it. And look, all the stuff that you participating on now, it's blowing me away, because I'm like, wow, this is amazing outcome, that no matter what happened to you, you are still you, with
Yeah.
the same heart, and still, because lots of people might be, I don't say like lots of people, I don't want to say that, but in general, this kind of situation can make us a victor or victim, because we
Yeah.
can concentrate on stuff that happened to us and be in bondage forever. Although like
Yeah.
our stitches can heal, our emotions can feel, our trauma can feel, but we still can be stuck in those really bad
Yeah.
moments of the past, and do not progress, and do not learn and grow, and actually don't benefit to yourself or to anyone or people around us. So I really um want to congratulate you. I don't know if it's congratulation, it's the right word, but I
Yeah.
cannot
Well,
find. I'm so proud that you're sticking to your identity, to being a good man rather than to be victim and hate on the world, because it
sure.
happens, nothing we can do
Yeah.
about it anymore, but how we
That's right.
behave afterward, it's very important. So I actually had really joy and privilege to talk to you today.
Yeah.
And is there anything else like you want to add? Because was that 3 times, or this is 3 times?
Well, so I got out of the hospital, okay, and that 2 weeks turned into 2.5 months. And when they released me, they didn't give me any medication, okay, and I didn't really think about it. And so in New
Because you
Zealand,
were
they
or
use,
you were on those narcotics as a painkillers.
yeah, I was on methadone.
Okay, just want to
Methadone is,
clear that up.
yeah, yeah. The methadone. Most people know methadone is a tool that's used to help people get off heroin or opiate addiction, right?
Mhm.
In New Zealand, they use it for pain management. Very effective. The problem is it's highly addictive and it
Mhm.
takes a long time to get off of it. Well,
Oh
I
my
was still
goodness.
on it and I didn't think about it because they kind of actually rushed me out of the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
Basically, they told me the doctor came in and said, someone needs this bed more than you do, and you're leaving tomorrow.
Oh
I
my
had
gosh.
I had an open incision on my lung. I had an open incision on my leg. I had a tube out of my arm for antibiotics, and I had a vacuum thing that was on my leg that I had to wear around my neck with a machine,
That is
that was,
terrible that they kick you out. Who
yeah,
needs more than you do? That's awful.
unbelievable. And
Oh,
so yeah, they packed me up and I left the next day. The nurse packed all my stuff up, took me downstairs in a wheelchair, put me in a taxi. They paid for it and sent me home.
so
And I
now
thought,
you
okay,
have no
well,
drugs. How long it took you to understand that you need your next dose?
probably about 3 days, two
Mm-hmm.
to 3 days. And I didn't realize it. And I started getting angry and I was upset and my emotions were crazy. And I
Probably
was, and
sweating too,
oh
like
yeah,
no
I was,
appetite,
yep,
like
yep.
all that stuff that
It was everything. It was there. And I'm like, what is going on with me? I'm going crazy.
withdrawals.
I'm sitting, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm sitting in my office with my door closed, in my underwear, sweating
Mm-hmm.
over my computer, trying to work. And I'm like, I'm having withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in touch with the doctor. I get in touch with the hospital. The hospital's not going to take me back in because they just
Mm-hmm.
released me. My GP. I'm in this weird area where my GP doesn't want to prescribe me methadone. You can't find it anywhere at a
Mm-hmm.
pharmacy. Okay. And then I did find it, and I could only get, I'm talking like 2 or 3 drops, enough to just like get me through a day or two. And then I had to go through this thing every like
Oh
three
my
times a week,
gosh.
right? Go into the pharmacy. And I'll tell you what, I got so fed up with it. what I did was I just decided, you know what, I can't deal with this. When I go to the pharmacy, they would treat me like I was a drug addict. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've had it. This is enough. I don't deserve this. And I got frustrated. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing anything. So I just decided I was going to live with it, live with the
Wow.
symptoms. The physical symptoms, they went after a couple of weeks, right? But a couple of weeks. But the mental thing, it made me suicidal.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
talking like I was close to doing
Mm,
it, thinking about doing it, planning it, getting down to it. And I was like, you know what? I better start talking to a counselor, right?
that is good.
And so I knew it was the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was the drugs. And here's the thing. I just I couldn't go. I wasn't going to go through with it. I knew I couldn't do that to myself. I couldn't do that to my family. Let me tell you why. Because probably about 6 months before, as well, before I had got diagnosed with cancer, a really good friend of mine that owned the local restaurant, kind of like you would think of, kind of like a Cheers, right? With the show Cheers, where everybody's, friends and everybody's got their own place to sit. This was one of my good friends, and he went bankrupt. No one knew, and the next day he went to the other side of town, out in the woods, and he hung himself.
Wow.
And the pain that caused,
Mm.
I couldn't do that to my family.
Well,
And
sometimes
so,
when we get into those situations, we have this lie that it's easier way out.
oh
But
yeah,
it's very selfish too, because people around gonna be very hurt, and not only it's selfish, it's not solve the problem too. You
yeah.
know, people think that it's easier, but honestly, I hope and pray you guys, like if you right now thinking about that it's easy way out, that you wouldn't be here to deal or with physical or emotional pain or with loss, loss of loved ones or the finances or homes or parents, whatever it is. If you're at the end of the road, please, please, please seek help, because it's not the solution. You think it is, but it's lie. Please find someone, talk to someone. This is not the end. It could be not the end for you. Just please speak up.
The thing for me was, you know, in that situation, I felt responsible. I
Mm,
felt responsibility to my friends and my family, that I could not do that to them.
mm,
Even though I didn't care about myself.
mm,
I didn't care if I lived or died at that point. I really didn't. You can't, you have responsibilities to others. And that is one of the things that kept me from doing that. Is I can't do that. I can't do that to the people I love. Even though I don't care about myself, they care about me, and I can't do that. That was one of the things that really, and then I
that
know
saved you.
it
That's
did. And
why.
then and then and
Mm,
then and then the reminder of a close friend that
mm,
had recently done that, and the difference between my friend that had died of cancer and then my friend that had committed suicide, the difference in the pain,
mm.
it's much worse. I can't
Why
fully
do you
describe
think
it.
that like it's much worse? It's because the cancer is inevitable and this one chosen, or why? Why do you think that
Because
people didn't have a closure, or what would you say the pain was different in one sense? I don't know why I'm thinking about it. I just want a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
think I
more.
think I think we naturally have a feeling of what could I have done to
Mm,
help him? I feel like there's some regret there,
mm,
and and there's definitely some remorse, and then it's also the thing that you didn't let the natural universe take its course.
mhm,
You don't know. We'll never know. We'll never know what could have happened, what he could have done, and he forced destiny. And I'm more of a person that likes to try to be a part of the destiny. I don't want to, I don't want to force something like that. And
Yeah, and you definitely not giving into death. That's for sure. We already
oh
heard that you
yeah,
keep fighting and you say no to everything
that's
that
right.
comes your way
That's
because
right.
your strive for living and overcoming is
Mhm.
so strong.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got through all that. I got through all that, and the lung healed up, and the leg, the leg, it was healing up. Still infected though, right? And I'm back at work. I'm back at work when I can get to work. I'm at work.
Mm, goodness.
And so I'm doing my thing. My next scan. No, no, no. This time you really do have pancreas cancer. No, 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 you really do. And here's the thing. Same surgeon, same team, because he's the best surgeon in the country. Okay.
I hope you
I
didn't go with him. I would not trust him with my body. I'm
I
like,
didn't.
you just took my organs
Yeah,
out. I'm not doing this again.
you can imagine. So this time I said, look, I gotta have a biopsy because last time you wouldn't let me have one and it was a misdiagnosis. So this time I have to have one. And I said, look, I will not do chemotherapy. Okay. I will only do radiation. We're not going to cut it out. Okay. You're done with the knife, right? You can recommend me for radiation. That is it. Okay. And so, because he wanted to cut it out, he wanted to remove it. So me and him over several months, right? So, you book an appointment. I mean, this is public, right? You don't get an appointment or a test run or a scan or something. It takes a month to a couple
Yes.
months, right?
Hmm.
Plus we're dealing with COVID. Okay.
Wow.
So this goes on for 6 months, back and forth. Finally, I get a biopsy. It's cancerous. Okay. Now, when we found it, okay, I had gotten to the point where I was like, I can't read the images, but send me the reports. I want the report of everything every time you guys do something. I read the
Mm,
reports. Okay.
okay.
And I can figure it out. So when they found it, it was this big. That's the size of two nickels.
Hmm.
Okay. On its side. By the time we got to where we had the biopsy done, this big.
Wow.
Okay. I'm like, time is running out. I cannot wait any longer. So I went to a couple of private physicians. Okay. One of them was a pancreas guy. One of them was a radiation guy. One
See,
of them was,
you learn to ask second opinion,
I
and
just
that's
said, you
what
know what? I
happens
just can't
from
wait
bad
anymore.
experience.
Yeah, I'm going to die. I'm going to die if I don't. So, so I went to the pancreas guy, of course, he referred me on to the radiology guy and the oncology guy, but his thing was, you're going to die from this. This
Mm.
is going to kill you. Okay. I had already been told several times by my orthopedic that if that this was going to get me, and I'd already I was already in that state. If I so I went to this radiation doctor and he said, look, your latest report says that this size tumor is growing into your stomach, and we won't do radiation.
Wow.
Even though my other public doctor was like, oh yeah, I'll recommend you, da 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 da. Okay. And he said, look, we can't do radiation because we could burn a hole into your stomach lining, and we don't know, you could bleed to death, and we wouldn't know internally.
Yeah.
No signs. And we won't do surgery because we have to cut into your stomach, and we may not be able to stop the
They
bleeding.
just don't want to take a risk and
No
their
risk. Yeah,
liability that it's happened one way or another. You don't have any good chances to survive, so they're not taking it.
you got it. And here's the other thing, right? When this is a government run thing. Okay.
Mm.
I became a number. I
Mm.
became someone that they weren't going to spend any more money on because there was no reason. Okay.
Mm.
So at this point, I decided I need to go home. I had literally been given, I went to this private oncologist. He gave me a year. He gave me a year to live. And I said, okay, I'm going home to be with my parents for the last year I have.
You mean go home
As
in US?
in leave from New Zealand and come
Yes.
back to the
I
United
just
States
want to
to work.
clarify that not
Sure.
go home from the hospital. Sorry,
Sure.
not from the
Yeah.
hospital, from the doctors, but actually go back home to be with your family in US
Right.
from New
Right.
Zealand. Okay.
And on the phone one day with my parents while I was still in New Zealand, I just, could hear the hopelessness in their voice and the helplessness that they finally had heard. Because my parents they're positive, they're
Mhm.
optimistic, they're good Christians,
Yeah.
they're supportive,
First
they're
time, second time, but on the third time, it's take a toll.
it's gonna get you, right?
Mm.
And I'd kind of given up too. I'd been through all the thing with the methadone in my head, and I just, I don't care anymore. And I decided on the phone that day, I said, you know what? It's not fair. I'm going to fight this. I know. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I don't care if I have less than a 5% chance. All I need is a
Awesome.
chance. That's all you need. If you have a chance, you can do it, right? I don't care about percentages. I don't care about statistics. It doesn't bother me. Okay. I get it. And I'm a numbers guy and I get caught up and business and money and accounting and everything. But I don't care. I got a chance. So I decided at that point I'm going to fight this thing. So I went back to the States, right? I came back and I came to a local doctor. I said, you know what? I remember my parents being in New Zealand and hotels every night, having to travel, eating out, all that stuff. It's a lot of extra work and effort and stress and everything. Let's start at home. So I
Mhm.
went to a local clinic here. And the guy said, look, man, he said, we got great machinery here. Those things you're worried about, they're concerns. There are possibilities that those things could happen. We're going to monitor you closely. But let me tell you something. By this time, this big, okay? The tumor is from here to here to this big now,
Wow.
okay?
I
Seven
love that you're
months.
doing all these visuals because now
7
it's like
months.
mind blowing to see that. And actually, guys, like for those of you who gonna listen this on a podcast and it's just the audio. So first, like he had like two nickels and there's small tennis ball, and then it's
Softball,
baseball,
softball,
softball
softball. Yeah, yeah.
size ball. So you can imagine, you guys, how it's getting bigger and bigger fast.
I mean, yeah, in 7 months it grew from nothing to
Yeah.
that big, right? I mean,
Wow.
it was going to take over. My stomach hurt all the time. I couldn't eat.
Mm,
I was on
mm.
smoothies. I was losing weight. I could look in the mirror. I had no color. I was
Oh my
dying.
gosh.
There's no doubt. I
Terrible.
could tell. So we decided, the doctor said, look, your choices are we'll do radiation. I think we can get it. Or if we don't, this is going to kill you.
Hmm.
Okay, let's do radiation.
I knew that that's what you're gonna
That's
choose.
easy, no problem.
Yeah.
So we did the radiation, and I had to wait 3 months, and we got it, baby. We nailed it.
Yay. That's
And so,
awesome.
yeah.
So tell
So I
us, like,
still,
where are you now? It's now
yeah,
like you are cancer free. Like all of it is gone. So tell us
yes,
this
right.
the success
So
stories.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's where things started to really turn around with actual visual results, right? And then the next thing was the hip. Because I wanted to get a hip implant somehow. But
Yeah.
the thing was, you saw that there's really nowhere to bolt anything to
Hmm.
put a hip implant in.
Exactly.
That's what every doctor told me. I was going to doctors all over the country, talking to doctors everywhere, researching, all had the same answer. There's infection in your hip. We won't operate. If we could, we can't because there's nothing to put a implant to. Okay. So we got the cancer thing kind of done. Then I went to a doctor here that specializes in infections and stuff. Got on some antibiotics for 3 months, 2 hours every day, and we got the infection. So the next thing
Wow.
is, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? Because I've
Yes.
been on crutches for like four and a
Absolutely.
half, 5 years now. I've been on crutches longer than most people go to college.
Hmm.
Okay. To give you an idea.
Yeah.
So my goal is cancer-free, remove the infection. Let's get a hip implant. I want to get off the crutches, right? Those are my three things.
So how did it happen?
Yep. So I found a doctor at Mayo Clinic, and I've gone through, it's a 3-part surgery to get the length back, but I am 2 months, 2 months in recovery from the actual hip implant that they just did. Okay. And to give you an idea, this is what it looks like.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
That is all metal.
And
There's 7
honestly,
or 8
guys, like
screws.
another thing for you guys who don't see this, that's literally look like they created body part out of metal. And
They
it's look
did.
like you are now gonna be unstoppable. Are you walking now without crutches?
Well, I have 6 months no weight bearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So it's
We
gonna take some
this is
time.
there's about 7 or 8
Mhm.
screws, and
Yeah.
there's 3 rods. There's procedures that have been done that have never been done before. This is the largest,
Wow.
most complex hip implant ever done. So I have to wait until the bone grows into all the metal, okay,
Mm.
and
So
everything.
there you go, guys. Honestly, if you think this is impossible, as long as like you don't give up until this is something that you cannot do anything about happens, like death, definitely you cannot do anything about it. But until that happens, you just persevere. And sometimes it's gonna be terrible, sometimes it's gonna feel lonely and painful, but we have an amazing ability to figure things out if we persevere. So there always way out if you start looking and just say like Trent, I don't want to give up. Okay, I'm still doing it. I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna roll over and wait for death. I'm gonna be proactive. And this is so awesome. That was amazing conversation. And
Yeah.
we are done with our time. But I still want you to tell us where people can find you,
Sure.
learn more about you and your story. And I hope and pray the people connect with you
Sure.
through whatever social media that I'm gonna post in my show notes. So they will talk to you and share their stories or tell you how amazing you are and how inspiring your story is. And I hope and pray this has helped someone today. Guys, please
Absolutely.
listen to this. Or if you know someone, I keep like doing this clapping because I'm just so excited because we all have or know someone that need this encouragement and hope. So please share this video, share all the information about Trent, ask him more questions. Maybe you need to know more information that for your personal cases, like ask him. He looks like a guy who open and willing to help. So there
Absolutely.
you go. Tell us a little bit where we can find you
Sure.
and
Sure.
about your
Well,
work.
I do coaching, and I use the same kind of scenario to help people overcome obstacles and reach goals the same way that I've done. I use the same kind of formula. So I do a bit of coaching, and I do speaking as well. And if anybody'd like me to come onto their podcast, or a speaking stage speaking or anything, I'm up for any of that stuff. You can find me at trentbrock@yahoo.com, and my Facebook is Trent Brock, and my picture looks like a guy with his hands over his head doing the victory like he just won the game. So that's me. And then my Instagram is Trent B Brock. And so it's the same thing. Give me a shout out. I'd love to talk to you. If I can help you, I will. Or you want to talk, you want to tell me a story, you've had cancer, you've had an obstacle. I just really and truly, I used to think, and it was, popcorn was my calling and my job, but now my job is really to tell my story and to help people and provide hope and help, and to let people know that if you got a chance, that's all you need.
That's awesome, Des. And before I let you go, I would like to ask you my signature question. What does love and to be loved means to you?
To me specifically,
Yes.
yeah, what does love and to be loved? Well, I think you have to be very open, and be open to, you need to be able to love yourself, And if you can't do that, you really can't love others. And so I think that's a really big part of it. And if you don't think you love yourself, you need to figure out why, and you may need to go talk to somebody about that. But I think that's the key to love and being loved is you need to first be able to love yourself and accept yourself, and then you can also do that with others.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Trent, for being our guest today. Oh my goodness, you provide so much insight, amazing story of overcoming. And our special guest is Trent Brock. And Trent is 3 times cancer overcomer, and he was given literally 1 year to live, and now officially 2 years
Two
cancer
years, two
free.
years cancer free.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you can do
Congratulations.
it.
And
You can do it too. It's possible.
absolutely.
It's possible.
An amazing, amazing story. And again, guys, don't hesitate to reach out to Trent. And I will post everything that was mentioned in this episode in show notes. And actually gonna post the link to our website for our book as well. There you can read about Trent as well, his bio and some extra information that you can look up. And stay tuned for another edition of Love and Beloved. And we will meet with another writer who has written for Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivor Collection. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Trent. I'm really grateful for you and your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Lena.
Bye, guys.
See ya.